Kindness flows with gentle boundaries. Freedom breathes within this circle. Open circle, we are here. Open circle, drawing near. We unlearn what once confined us. We remember who we are. Kindness given without condition. Freedom held with quiet strength. Open circle, we are here. Open circle, drawing near. You are welcome in this space. You are safe to simply be. Take your time and find your voice, or just rest in quiet presence. Open circle, we are here. Open circle, drawing Open circle holds us now. Open circle, soft and true. Open circle, breathing slow. Open circle, we are Open circle holds us now. Open circle, soft and true. Open circle, breathing slow. Open circle, we are
Welcome everyone, wherever you are joining from and in whatever particular time zone you may be in. Welcome to the Open Circle. You can arrive exactly as you are. There's no requirement here to be anything other than what is already present. No performance, no spiritual mask, no need to have life neatly resolved and wrapped in a bow, just here. So traditionally we start off the open circle just with a way just to ease persons into the open circle, just to be here. And if you're listening quietly in the background, that's also part of the circle. Nothing's missing. So tonight, today, wherever we may be, what could we explore? We could explore something that feels simple on the surface, but very deep when you actually sit with it. So I thought what we could do is we could explore something I'm going to call loving love. Now that might sound a bit repetitive, almost like a poetic typo, but I mean it very deliberately. Loving love means learning how to care for what is good without letting it be distorted. It means learning how to trust warmth without becoming naive about harm. So it means about learning how to be open. This is called the open circle. Being open without being unprotected. So for many persons who are here in the open circle, it's actually not an abstract idea. It's actually lived experience. Many persons here know it only too well, because a lot of us didn't just grow up in neutral environments. No, far from it. We grew up in systems where love was sometimes mixed with control. In fact, very often mixed with control, and I'm going to say a harmful control. And it was where kindness was sometimes mixed with expectation. Here's a set of criteria. It's got to be met. So we're talking about a situation where belonging sometimes came at a cost we only understand later, be it because of the psychology. I'm going to say because of the psychology and manipulation that creeps in. So this idea of loving love becomes something like relearning a language that we once thought, oh, I know this, or I thought I knew this. So let's start with a simple image. Imagine a garden, a real one. Not the perfect, social media garden. I don't know, maybe Instagram. I mean a real garden, you know. So some plants are thriving, doing really well, flourishing, but some plants are struggling. And what have you got? You've got weeds growing where you didn't invite them. Hey, what's this? You know, I didn't plant that. Now bring in the gardener. The gardener's panicking. No, gardener's not panicking. No. The opposite. The gardener is not shouting at the soil. They're observing. And hopefully, here's the interesting part. Okay? The gardener doesn't hate the garden. No, even when things are out of place. No, that shouldn't be there. That shouldn't be there. What's that doing growing here? You know. But the gardener doesn't want to ignore what's choking growth. Throughout the channel, I talk about the weeds, right? So in this imagination, this garden, this real garden, right? The gardener isn't ignoring what's choking the growth. It's discerning. It's a smart gardener. And he's this gardener, he, she, however you want to say, that gardener is holding balance, right? And that's where we begin to comprehend, to understand loving love. Not blind acceptance, not harsh control, but awareness with care, right? So I want to ask something gently. When you think of love, loving love, what did you learn it was supposed to look like? Was it freedom? Was it obligation? Was it approval? Or was it silence? Just take a moment with that. Because sometimes the first step in healing is simply noticing what definition we were handed. Here you go. Boom. That's what it's about. And whether it actually felt like love, or something else wearing love's clothing. So let me tell you a small story here. So there was a man once upon a time who used to water a plant every day. Here he goes. There's watering can. Bloop, 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 bloop. Every day he goes out. Same time, same amount, same routine. Okay? And you look at the plant, and the plant just wilted. So this man became frustrated. He said, I'm doing everything right. Why? Okay, overacting here. But why is it dying? You know? And somebody looked at him. Lady comes in, gardener, says, just can I ask you a question here? Says, sure. Says, have you actually checked if the plant needs that much water? He sort of stops, pauses, because he hadn't. He hadn't. He was so committed to doing it correctly that he never checked whether the plant was actually okay. All right, okay. Matt, funny story, right? Okay. Or maybe not. I think that's what sometimes happens with kindness too. We can become so committed to being kind that we forget to ask whether what we're doing is actually nourishing. Is this the right direction? Or it's just simply a habit, going through the motions merely, or an obligation, or fear of conflict. Now I want to bring something important here. Loving love also means learning to recognize when love is being used as a tool of pressure. Not every environment is like that. But many people here in the open circle will know exactly what I mean when I say there are moments when kindness wasn't free. It was conditional. It had rules. Even changing rules. Okay? Catch-22 rules. It had these rules attached to it. And if you didn't follow the rules, something shifted. Uh-oh. Warmth. Reduced. Belonging. Reduced. Approval. Reduced. And over time, a strange internal question forms in a person. If I'm just myself, will I still be safe here? And that question stays with people longer than they often admit. So when we talk about loving love, Matt, what a topic, loving love. Yeah, okay. We're not talking about pretending everything was always safe. It wasn't. We are learning about how to hold what is good without letting it be contaminated by what is not. And so that brings us to something very practical. Boundaries. Boundaries? Yeah, we've heard this. Now I know that word sometimes gets overused. Matt. Boundaries, yes. I mean, But I want to strip it back. Okay? So please, asking, let's be patient with this, because a boundary, it's important just to look at it. It's not rejection. It's not aggression. Right? A boundary is simply clarity. It's the difference between saying I value connection and also saying I don't abandon myself to maintain it. Let's be clear. So let me say that again in a slightly lighter way, because you might go, Matt, that's getting heavy, getting intense. Because sometimes we need, I'm endeavoring to use some kind of humor, right? And the reason for that is just to loosen the tension. So if your kindness starts to look like you're constantly auditioning for a role in someone else's life, you're not in kindness anymore. You're in performance. And nobody thrives in performance mode forever. Not even actors. They need breaks. They need a holiday. Now, I want to bring in a question. Have you ever said yes to something and your body was saying no, 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 no before your mouth did? It's a strange thing when that happens, because the mind often tries to justify it immediately. It goes, oh, it's fine. It's fine. It's not that much of a big deal. I should be kind. But the body sometimes already knows. And loving love means learning to listen to that earlier signal. Don't override it. Not in paranoia, not in fear, but in candid honesty. So let's just shift slightly, okay? Because this isn't only about protection. It's also about joy. And again, I want to be very clear here. If love loses joy completely, it becomes something else. Becomes duty, automaton, robotic. This is structure. This is high management, micromanaging. But the real love, it's got lightness in it. Even in serious context. Even when there's a conflict or contest. Now, when it comes to recovery, there's also lightness in love too, and in rebuilding trust, because that's very, very important. Now, there's still space for laughter. There's still space for humor. I once knew someone who said, I left a very controlling environment and realized I didn't know how to say no to small things. It's like choosing the tea I wanted. And you know what happened? As they said, that they laughed. Because it sounded ridiculous. But was it? No. It wasn't ridiculous. It was real. They had to relearn preference for a cup of tea. It's not rebellion. It's just preference. And that is part of loving love too. Reclaiming simple choice. Now, I want to bring in a slightly different angle, because loving love also means being aware that not everyone who speaks the language of kindness is safe. That's not being cynical. That's not cynicism. That's maturity. So there's a difference between openness and openness without awareness. One's grounded, the other is dangerously exposed, right? So part of this journey is learning to notice the patterns, not to become so suspicious of everyone, but to become accurate in perception. So what's a simple example? Does this interaction leave me more settled or more confused about myself? Does it expand my clarity or does it shrink it? So you don't need complex psychology for that. Just honest reflection, right? So let me shape it in another way. Small story, another story. Trying to make it a little bit more interesting. So there was a river, and it flowed through a valley. And so over time, people built structures around it. Dams, channels, barriers. Some were helpful. Some were controlling. And at some point, the river stopped being recognized as a river. People only saw the structures. There they are. There's the buildings. And someone came along and said, well, where's the river? Heard this village is built on a river. Where is it? Because underneath everything, it was still flowing. Oh yeah, it was there. But I think this kind of story is what many people experience after spiritual or institutional harm, because the structures become loud. Okay, there's the towers, boing. You know, the rules become loud, the identity becomes loud, but underneath it all, there's still something flowing, something natural, something not destroyed. Loving love is learning to reconnect with that flow. Now, I want to pause on something very simple. So you don't need to rush this process. We're not behind. You're not behind. There's no timeline. We're not failing. You're not failing. There's no correct speed for healing. There's no correct speed for healing. Sometimes the most important thing is just noticing, oh, I'm here. Here I am. Not fixed, not solved, just here. And that's simple to begin. Now, if you're part of this live open circle, or if you join via video, because I do tend to post these as well, just as a clear video standalone. But if you join via video, when that link opens, I use at this stage VDO.NINJA, right? The intention isn't to perform, not even in the live comments here. It's not to try and impress. It's not to try and win clarity contests or philosophical debates. Nah, that's not what it's about. It's simply to be human together in real time. And if you're just listening quietly, that's equally valid. Okay. So presence doesn't require speaking. Some do. I'm not knocking that, but I want to ask something that might open reflection in the chat or within yourself, within oneself. What does safe kindness feel like to you, to us? Not theoretical kindness, not ideal kindness, but the kind that actually leaves your nervous system a little bit more settled afterwards. And if you don't have an answer, that's fine too. You know, sometimes the question's enough. Now let's talk briefly about something very practical, because loving love isn't just, you know, this is an interesting philosophy here. It's not just philosophical. It shows up in daily life. It shows up in how we respond, or how you respond when someone pressures you. It's zeroing in. And it shows up in how you respond when you feel guilty for resting. I need rest. Oh no. What am I going to do? I've got to get up. It shows up in how you treat yourself after a mistake. So here's a very simple check in which we can use. You can use. Is this response expanding my capacity for life, or it's narrowing it? Because expanding usually feels like breath. Narrowing usually feels like constriction. Can't move. You don't need to overthink it. Now, I want to try and lighten the tone for a moment, because sometimes serious topics need air to breathe, right? So if you've ever tried to heal perfectly, we might have noticed something strange. We've just created another job. And suddenly we're thinking, am I healing correctly? How long did it take for you to heal? You know, well, that's not very healing if we're getting into that mindset. So sometimes the most radical thing is to stop monitoring yourself too much, you know, so intensely. Matt, this is getting intense here. And just live a bit. Gently, imperfectly, humanly. And so as we move towards opening the space, this open circle, fully tonight. Just want to bring back this core idea, come back to this core. Loving love means protecting what is real without becoming closed. It means staying open without becoming unguarded. Okay? And it means giving without disappearing. It means receiving without suspicion taking over. Too much suspicion. Just, yeah, man. It means remembering that joy is not separate from depth. Joy is a part of the depth when it's honest. So if you're here tonight, today, you're not late, you're not early, you're not behind, you are here. And that's the only starting point that actually matters. So in a moment, as we open more fully into the live circle, or into that, or into just quiet listening, there's no pressure to bring anything other than what's already present. Even uncertainty is welcome here, especially uncertainty, because that is often where honesty begins. So that's it. I'll leave you with that final simple question. If love could be safe again, what would it need from us, from you, now? Not forever, just now. Thank you for being here. You are the reason we and I am here. Shall we open the circle?
Oh, I can't see the chats again. Oh boy. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Gail. How are you?
I'm okay.
Good to be with you.
I wanted to join again tonight. I'm not going to monopolize the whole show
Okay.
like I did last week. I'm not going to do that like I did last week.
All right.
I want to give I want to add something that happened to me, and it had to do with what I said last week. You know, it's amazing. When I mentioned the Walter Fernald School in Waltham, Massachusetts, and what kind of a school it was and what they were doing to the clients, well, on my YouTube popped up a documentary about the Walter Fernald. And I just want to give a warning to some people, because this, I mean, I knew the atrocities that went on, because naturally we got some of the women and men from Walter Fernald. But I'm going to tell you the history of Walter Fernald, and it got closed down in 2014. And the guy, Walter Fernald, was a horrible, horrible man. And when he first called this school, and these aren't my words, you can look it up. The documentary is called 74 Boys Who Were Fed Radiation as a Test in 1974. Now, I just want to give everybody a little warning about the subject matter. And this guy called the school Feeble-Minded Morons was the name of his school. But thank heavens for Clinton, he got them to take that name away. And what they were doing, and I'm going to name two companies, and this is one reason why, and this is up to everybody else. My friend had called me years ago with Quaker Oats, because I was eating a lot of oatmeal after I have my pancreas removed and my gallbladder. It was making me sick all the time. Well, watching this documentary, Quaker Oats and MIT and Massachusetts got together and experimented on 70 boys who had no one to give them consent except for the school. And what they did every morning, they gave the boys Mickey Mouse watches and they took them to baseball games. Now, they had no idea, but the school knew they were giving these young boys radioactive material in their oatmeal every day as an experiment because Quaker Oats was the cream of wheat. Now, Clinton, I guess they get sued in 1978 for $1.85 million. And I think some of that went to the boys that were still alive. And no researcher was criminally charged with these heinous things that they did to these young boys. And the disgusting part of this whole story was what they called these young boys. They were all orphans. Most of them, a good percentage, were Down syndrome. And this is what really was disturbing. There were thousands that were relatively normal, but they still called them imbeciles and morons on their IDs. But these were kids that were often most. So this young man, this man, Fred Voice, who survived those horrible testing, he went on to live a productive life, but he went to Congress to get them to remove the word moron off his birth certificate, along with other patients that were housed there. This was one of the main reasons why I got into what I got into, because of this. They didn't care about, they called this the discarded population that nobody wanted. A lot of these kids were unadoptable because they had Down syndrome, number one. Number two, they were developmentally disabled, and some of them were perfectly normal. I think I mentioned that they did have 7 young men that did a documentary to talk about what happened to them at Walter Fernald. And this is the reason why, one of my main reasons is, this is my biggest reason for doing what I did. I hated the abuse that was done to those who were different, poor, unwanted, and couldn't fend for themselves. So that's one of my biggest reasons why I get into the field, because of it, because I wanted to make a difference on some of these individuals. Now I have a picture of myself. This is my first job as a mental health worker. Here I was. Can you see me? I was a hotline operator in 1973 in Arlington, Massachusetts. I was a hotline operator for 3 years, and I saved a woman's life and was put on the front page of the Boston Globe for my fast reaction. And from there, because it was volunteer, I was approached and asked to be a playground teacher because there was a lot of violence in the playground. And the teenagers were causing problems, and a lot of the parents didn't want their children at the playground. I don't know if people remember playground teachers back in the day. I do. So it was very successful. And from that, I became an outreach worker for a housing project in Arlington. And I worked with the teenagers and all the parents. So I just wanted to give you a little update of Quaker Oats. And I won't ever eat any more Quaker Oats as long as I live. And I'm glad I saw that, because they didn't even apologize for what they did to those little 74 boys testing radioactive material. I don't know. I try to find out what happened to them ingesting all that radioactive material. I have no idea. If somebody else might know, I'd like to know. So I just wanted to add that from my story from last week. Thank you.
Beautiful story, Gail. There's mixed feelings, of course, because of the lousiness of the abuse. But there's also the positive side about you. And I want to say I'm grateful. I want to say thank you for your service that keeps going on. And I'm delighted seeing your picture from 1973.
I was a hippie. Hippie days. Well, the place burnt down in 2024.
Well,
And
Gail,
Walter Fernald's son went to the building, and on the floor, which it's illegal, they had all the medical documents for all of these patients that were in this school all over the floor for anybody to break in and get a hold of their information. So I'm glad that that place burnt down because it should have. And Clinton closed the doors in 2014.
I see. Yeah. Sheila, good to have you with us.
Hi, Sheila.
Hi.
Thank you for your presence and thanks for your interactions. In fact, thanks to everybody here. Who can we give some shout outs to?
Well, I'm going to get off and give somebody else a chance.
Well, Gail, it's all right for you to hang out, or if you want to buzz off there, whatever you want to do, you're very free. And it's really great having you around, Gail. You know that.
Oh, thank you.
And if I go on about it, then it'll make you cry. So I don't want to do that.
I'm not going to cry. No, when I saw that, I knew something happened, but I didn't know Quaker Oats and MIT were involved in this experiment. And they experimented on these kids who couldn't even give consent for themselves and giving them Mickey Mouse watches.
Well, the people that care, my own belief, for what it's worth, Sheila and Gail and everyone who's listening, my own belief is I think the reason why we got into the trouble that we got into is because of the care factor. We were going, no, we've had enough of this abuse. It stops here. I'll speak for myself, if I may. I could not. I knew in my mind when I was sitting in these meetings where there was coercion and it was like, no, you've got to just shut up about it. Particular abuses that I was seeing, I was going, I cannot go through another 20 years. I can't go through another year. In fact, I can't even go through another meeting like this. And in fact, I actually piped up. I said, what do you want me to do? Sit here and not say a word? Is that my new function? Is just to sit here without any kind of input for what's going on, and I'm not allowed to give you my observations. What is the point of these meetings? Why are we gathering? Why are we doing agendas? Why are you saying please submit points for discussion? I just don't get it. If you can explain to me what the purpose is, that's going to be really great, because then I'll know what my role is. But it just seems like you either want silence or you just want somebody to nod their head. That's all you want done. In which case, I think we can wire up a few pumpkins, to a windmill, and they can just sort of nod. Gail, that was how I felt. So I'm trying to say, I believe that the persons with a propensity to rebel ethically because of an ethic, just to say, no, I cannot support this, I believe is making the difference. And I'll give you something from a medical point of view that happened to me.
Okay.
I had somebody that I gave CPR to. If we had put them into the hospital system, they wouldn't have survived. In fact, we did. We put them into the hospital system because that was what the family had said. Oh, that's the route. And it was only because of the intervention of two really courageous scientist doctors who came in and said, listen, we're going to tell you something about the legal side. It's narrowing. We can operate within this legal framework, but it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. What's happened here? We told them transparently. And they intervened, and I saw a life saved. So, Gail, I believe you're in the right direction. That's why I say I'm grateful. And I have this feeling that, like Jay Mars says, we have much rebellious spirit because of what is going on today, because we've said no to bad ethics. So, for what that's worth, I think we're in the right direction. And I believe that this is the front line for change. There wouldn't be the pushback that's necessary. Those two women, they said to me, Matt, we'll take things to the medical board. We are fighting things on a legal front line. We might be tackling the medical side and seeing where we can come in to to save people's lives. But we've also got a medical team. We wouldn't have got into this work without the without the legal support too. And that's where the pushback is happening.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it doesn't. Thank you for what you did. You saved someone's life. Good for you.
And
I just want to touch
you
on
too.
the love
You also
aspect.
doing that.
There was the love that the JW, it's unconditional. And Jesus said to love. Oh no, I take that back. It was a conditional love, like my father was. And Jesus said to love unconditionally, and they don't know what that meant. And that was disturbing to me, that there was a price tag on their love. And the price tag is, are you out in service? Are you going to be a pioneer? What are you going to do for the congregation? Are you contributing enough? You know, everything had a price tag to it. And that's not what Jesus talked about. It's loving someone unconditionally without a price tag and expecting something in return.
Yeah. Yeah. Sheila, how's things in the UK?
Hi, Sheila.
I feel dark.
It's freezing here.
It's middle of the night here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Gail, I've always wanted to be on a chat with you. You're so
Oh,
interesting to listen to.
really? Oh, thank you. That's really kind of you. Thank you. Thank you for that.
We have a few in the comments. Jay Mars is sending greetings to everybody.
How do I see the chat while I'm on the screen?
That's a good question. So
Well, how did you do that? I don't know how to do that.
yeah,
What
you
did
need another device.
do I minimize this?
So to answer your question, Gail, because it's a good question. When you come onto VDO.NINJA, we discovered headphones are very useful. The other thing too is to have maybe a phone or a laptop where you can tune into the YouTube, but then of course lower the sound on it. And
I'm on my laptop.
yeah, so you can do that. And any other pointers, Sheila? What did we work
No, I
out?
want to minimize it so I can see the chat on the right hand. Like friend Joe,
Well, we've got a
to
trick.
the left and the chat was on the right.
Okay, so we have that, and it should be appearing on your screen now.
No, I just see me, you, and is it Florence?
Oh, okay.
I just see us three. I don't see anybody else.
Okay.
Maybe I need to minimize the screen.
All right. So there should be two forms of chat. So Jamar says the chat is always on the bottom or on the side of the screen.
I
So
know
we've
that.
got,
I don't see
we've
it.
got a
That's what I'm saying.
we've got a chat that's
Now I can't see anybody.
okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but how'd you do that? I don't know. I'm having trouble.
I'm on another. This is another device.
Oh.
Have you not got your camera?
No, I gotta shut my phone.
So there is a little trick there, Sheila. If you have got the YouTube, there's two chats. There's the chat that's on the side, like Jay Mars says, and then if it's useful, I've also got it on the actual videos as well. So it should be appearing on the left as well on the actual broadcast.
Yes.
If it's annoying anybody, please let me know, and then I can just turn it off. But if it's useful to you, I'll just leave it there for whoever's finding that useful. Jamar says, make your screen larger.
I'm working on that now.
Yeah. Jamar, should I make my screen larger? I think I'm maxed out for what I can get on there, but I could move the guests over to the right. Okay. Sue says everything will be fixed eventually. Yes. Well, Gail, thank you very much for coming on, and thanks very much for sharing that. I'm going to just quieten the pop-out chat that's on the screen and have a little chat with Sheila, if that's all right. Sheila, are you up for a chat?
Yes.
Yeah. So So we were talking about how things are in the UK. You said it's dark.
Yes, it's midnight.
Yeah. So Sue says, yeah, the screen is 3 of the same size. I think when 4 comes up, it divides it up into quadrants. You know,
Yeah,
I did
yeah.
try that earlier. So it's just one of those things with VDO.NINJA that's unique to that. Jamar says you're okay. Well, thanks, Jamar. Appreciate that. But I do have something that we could talk about, Sheila, if you're up for it,
Make it
if you're
simple.
game. Yeah. And you know, it was just this thing of intellectualism. You know, sometimes, yeah, I know I can use certain words that might confuse or whatever, especially if it's in legal context, because that's
Mm,
all about
mm.
language. It's all about language. And then when you talk about the medical field, now that's a language of its own as well. So I am aware of that, but if we can bear with it, I think when we talk like this, there isn't really the need for some kind of complication to come in, and we can sort of be a little bit more natural in the way that we chat, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So I wanted to explore a continuation of what we began, Sheila, and it was with, you know, slightly more grounded and perhaps more, I suppose, challenging focus. But I wanted to include Sue and anybody else there. Um, you know, what do we do when circumstances are not ideal, especially if we're feeling like we're isolated or we're in exile, or maybe there's limited resources, or something like illness or recovery that's not straightforward. You know, Sheila, when life doesn't neatly rest or reset after what we've been through, I think the question is, how do we fix everything? It's not a good question, right?
Oh,
You know.
you can't push it. You can't make things happen. You've just got to relax and
Yeah,
accept that we've been misled, misguided, taken down the wrong pathway. And we just need to sort of gather our feelings and thoughts together, look at things from a different aspect. Once we start to see things differently, then we start to learn. But until we get that deep indoctrination away out of our minds as full front on, then we can't move. We get stuck. Um, and we can't relax. We can't let go. I noticed that Sue said she's a poor me, which is quite difficult for anyone in that position. Uh, you need it, to me, these sort of chats, which are very therapeutic and healing, especially with the comments that come through. Then we can listen. We can start to listen and feel that we can be cured or helped, whatever word we want to, that sits right with us and is comfortable.
sure.
Like Gail, she gets very anxious sometimes, and it can come across as aggression, which it isn't. It's just a way of fighting an indoctrination of something, that we can't do anything. When you're stuck into a position, you can't do anything, you can't fight it. So you've just got to sit back and think, well, I can only do what I do, which is what you've been talking about.
Yeah, no, I think you've put it well there, Sheila, and we're among friends. I struggle with that because I go, man, I've put my I've got in the jam, and that
Mm.
wasn't my intention. But like what you said, you know, can you feel or sense into what the spirit is, for want of a better terminology? So I wanted to say this, Sheila. The question isn't how do we fix everything, but it's more candid,
Yeah,
and I would say it's a grounded honesty in um, how do we surpass what harmed us. How does that sound?
Yes.
Is that a better question? Yeah. And
It's like it's like having a bad wound
yeah.
and you apply salve to it. And gradually the wound heals, not from the inside out, but from the outside in. And gradually it covers over, it may leave a scar that you don't get rid of, and that scar is always sensitive, it always stands out white on the skin, but it's healed, but it takes time.
Slim Chick says, volunteer with a large group, enlarge your world, help
Yes,
fix food, feed people, don't isolate. I think that's what we were getting from Gail as well.
yes, it
Right.
is.
Yeah. So, Gail, you're doing good work. Slim Chick, you're in the right direction. I think that's very positive. There was something a little bit more there, Sheila, because we don't want to deny the reality that
No,
we're still living in. That word surpass.
yes.
It is important because it doesn't mean erase. It doesn't mean, oh, let's pretend it never happened, Sheila. You know, and it doesn't mean that we're suddenly untouched by it. And I want to say it means something. I don't know if discreet's the right thing or quieter is the right thing. It means that we're no longer defined by it. I think that's what it is. And even if it's still part of our landscape, I want to say something, carefully at the beginning here, because not everybody's path looks the same, right?
No.
I think that's what you were alluding to.
Mm.
And not all, I'm sort of losing my voice a bit, excuse me, but not all healing is linear, right? I don't know how you feel about that, Sheila, or if you've got something to say there. But some people experience dramatic shifts, and others experience something much more incremental. I don't know how you've been seeing things there, because you've been sort of out for what, about 3 years,
Mm.
really? Yeah.
But it took a while to come out. It takes a while. Because, like you said, posed in one of your other podcasts or posts, supposing they're right.
Yeah, yeah. It did do a video to try and tackle that,
Yeah.
Sheila, because I thought it was a good point that he
But
made.
yes, it was a good point. Was from Peps. Yeah.
Is there a way to encapsulate the answer? I would say by their fruits you recognize them.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe that's.
There's a lot of red herrings.
Yeah. Now, what's a red herring?
It takes you on the wrong path. It gives you thoughts or takes your mind from one subject to another. Look over here, don't look over there. That's your red herrings there. And we have a tendency to follow not the easiest path, but it is the easiest path according to the indoctrination.
Right.
So they're right. And it's until we accept that perhaps they're not right and look at something else that gives you a different viewpoint, then you've got some comparison. Then you can make your mind up one way or another. It's not easy. It's the indoctrination of it all. And even if you've been out quite a long time, which looks like Mama Sue has, it still keeps coming back. What if they're right? What if they are right? But
How do you answer
eventually,
that one? Is it by look at their fruits, look at the real report? Because they tell you don't talk about this. They tell you don't expose this. And that's what it relies on.
yes, it does. It does.
And
But once you start to look at different things, whatever you're looking at, you can be looking at archaeology, you can be looking at another translation of Bibles, you can be listening to other people's views on things. What comes after life? What's death? Is death the end of it? What happens to the essence of that person? Where does that go? It's all different aspects. And you can't sort of say, well, everything's wrong, because it's not. There's an
Well,
element of truth in everything.
with the way you're talking there, Sheila, it sounds like we're still building. I think quite
We
often
are
we talk
building.
about, building the wall, and eventually you've got a room, and then you've got a house, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You've got to have a sound basis. Your base is the most important thing.
So are we building something that can actually hold weight? I think so.
Yes. Yes.
I think so.
Yes.
But what if our progress feels slow? Does it
So
mean that it's not real?
It's not a competition. Some people walk faster than others. Some people can't walk at all. They're in a wheelchair, but they're still making progress. They're still going forwards.
You're making me think about this kind of image. You're walking through a landscape after a storm. Not everything's destroyed.
No.
You see these hurricanes or tornado or something that's ripped through a place, but not everything gets wiped out. But then not everything's intact either.
That's right.
Some structures are damaged, and some paths are unclear, and you don't have a full map. But you just have, if I may say, where you're standing. Now, in that situation, what matters most? Not running, not pretending everything's fine, but just orientation.
Yes.
Where am I? What's stable? What's unsafe? And what is one small step I can take from here?
Yes.
And that's often what's surpassing, because that was the word we were using, to surpass. That's often what surpassing begins to look like. And it isn't grand transformation. It's, it's not some kind of trumpet going off, brass band. But I would like to say that it's accurate orientation.
Yes.
I sort of see you head nodding there, Sheila. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Any
It's like
thoughts
having it's like having a compass. There's north and there's true north. So you follow that direction. It may take you a time to adjust your compass and hit the right line, but do it slowly. You can't rush it. If you start to rush it, you panic.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't do that. I can't do that. There's days where I feel like there's only very little that I can get accomplished.
So what? At least you're
Yeah.
accomplishing something. The fact that you've actually got up in the morning, you've accomplished something.
Yeah. So look, many people are emerging from spiritual or institutional harm.
Yes.
They carry a particular kind of fatigue.
Yes, they do. Absolutely.
Is it just physical? I don't think
No.
so.
No. No.
I'm going to ask you this. In your observation, do you think it's just emotional?
No. It affects every part of your being.
How about this? You say every part of the being. So could I say it's existential exhaustion?
Yes, it covers emotional, physical, mental, whatever part of you. Not just the external part, but it can make you physically ill,
Yeah.
physically sick,
Yeah.
mentally sick.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Alice the other day, and she said the beginning of your videos where you've got your being drawn into something,
Yes.
it can also be a sign of indoctrination. Now, I'd never looked at that because I see it as a journey you're going on a journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she doesn't see it as that. So we're all looking at things in a slightly different way.
Yeah, but I think these facets, they all add up. They really do. Look, I speak for myself. That's what I get when I say I draw from everybody in the community. That's absolutely true. It's
Mm.
this isn't a one-sided street, and it's not one teacher. You know,
No, it's
there's
not.
one teacher holding the floor.
We're
You
we're
know,
all teaching each other, and we're all learning from each other. Nobody's thoughts and ideas are better than anybody else, and we're so used to people standing in front of us, above us, and telling us what to do and what not to do. But we're all sat together in a circle. We're all each other's companions. We can all link arms. We're all together, and everybody's ideas are valuable. Not one person. There's nobody stood in the middle teaching.
I like that image, Sheila. Now,
And that's how I see this open circle, that we're all sat around and we can escape anytime we want. We can join anytime we want.
and can we disappear when we want to? Can we say
Yes,
time out?
yes.
Yeah,
That
I,
open circle allows that.
I appreciate that.
It's an
You,
invite. The open circle is an invite.
yeah, so that's already like Gigi saying, or Gail, self-care is at the core of healing. Yeah, absolutely. Because there is this existential exhaustion. The system didn't just affect behavior; it affected meaning and
Everything.
and yeah, and identity. Right?
Yes. You haven't got one.
A
In
Slim Chick says that the feeling is real. Somewhere along the path, you may find to choose preserving yourself versus holding on to them. Yeah,
yes. Yes.
yeah. So, you know, and not to have a guilt about that. I
That's
mean, what
right.
can you do? You've got to have know what your healthy limits are,
That's right.
right? Yeah.
We
So
shouldn't have that feeling of needing to preserve ourselves. That shouldn't come into it, but it does. And the feelings are real, as Slim Chick said. They are definitely real. They're not imaginary.
can we also include trust as well?
That's very important, to trust those that you sat with.
Yeah.
But that
Well, that
takes time to learn that.
and time to build.
Mm.
You know, especially if there's been a betrayal of trust or there's been a fallback, then it's going to take time to build. You
Yes.
know, yeah,
Well, we've all trusted these high control organisations. We've all done that. We've trusted the governmental authorities. We trust the medical profession, and it doesn't always work. But we trust. But once that trust is broken, it takes a long, long time. Like in a marriage arrangement, once one partner betrays that trust, you either walk away from it altogether, or you learn to rebuild that trust. Now that's very, very hard. I've been in
yeah.
that situation. Very hard. I just walk away from it.
And sometimes that's necessary.
Mm.
Sometimes you've got
For
to do
your
that.
own preservation. Yes.
Yeah, and also sends a message.
Yes.
It sends a message. A positive one. It's not necessarily. It can be a sad one,
Yes.
but it can
Very
be
sad.
it's a necessary one. You know.
Mm.
Sheila, what else can we talk about? Oh yes, and sometimes even the body. You know, when there's that institution, I think negative institutional harm. When have we heard of positive institutional polarity? Very rarely.
No.
But excuse me, I'm going to say, yeah, you know, yeah, it does affect the body because I don't actually separate these things. I go spirit, mind, emotion, body. It's all interconnected. It's all interwoven. What did you talk about? You talk about this interwoven circle.
Mm.
Well, I put that into the body too.
Yeah.
You know, spirit.
It
The whole.
includes everything about a person. It's not just the outside body; it's the inner person as well.
Huh. So okay, Sheila, I think we're making progress here. How are you feeling? You feeling good?
Yep.
All right. Okay. So here it comes. Are you ready for this?
Oh dear me.
So when we talk about moving forward, we have to respect that this is not just about thinking differently. It's about rebuilding capacity. That's what I hear. I'm hearing that. It's about building capacity. And capacity takes time. You ready for a story?
You have many of them.
Well, try to be prepared. But I need help.
Where are you,
Lots of
Gail?
help.
Slim Chick, John.
I'll try and make it a small
Linda.
story. How's that? I'll try and make it a small story. All right. Here's the small story, Sheila. There was once upon a time someone who had been through a very controlling environment. Perhaps you know someone like that. Now, after leaving, they set themselves a goal. And they said, I'm going to rebuild my life. Sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very strong. It's very determined. But you want to know what happened after a few weeks? Can you guess?
They failed.
They felt worse. Now, I'm chuckling at this. And you're smiling because we
Were
can
you
sort
looking
of
in a mirror?
predict. Yeah.
Mm.
Sorry, you were going to say.
Were you looking in a mirror?
Yeah, I think so. I think I was. You know, back to the story, somebody asked them, what does rebuilding look like to you? Oh, hello, Linda
Hello,
James.
Linda.
How do you do? Good to see you. How's things over in California?
Very
Good.
good. I'm like all into the story. So
Oh,
please
the story. Okay.
continue. Thank you for saying hi. Though.
Well, we got to the part, Linda James, on somebody approaching the person that felt like they'd done worse or that they'd failed after, initially being determined. They were asked, what does rebuilding look like to you? And they said, well, I should be more productive. I should be more social. I should be more clear. I should be more stable.
Got a whole lot of should, huh? A whole lot of should.
There's a lot of should there.
They're building themselves up to fail.
So true.
Tell me, do you think that it would be good to say to that person, this sounds like a full-time job?
Yes.
On top of recovering from everything you've been through.
Yes.
And that's the next part of the story, because that's exactly what the person gently said. And tone matters. They just said, it sounds like a full-time job. It sounds like it's a lot on top of recovering from everything you've been through. And you know what happens next? A
It's hard to
pause.
get rid of that mind frame of I should be doing this, I should be doing that, it's very hard to get rid of that self-talk though. So
Yeah.
but I hear you. It stalls you. It occupies your brain so much it's almost a huge distraction from getting any further.
Well, they've actually returned to what they were trying to escape from.
Yeah.
Well, I think you have, Linda James, you've heard me say this. There's a lot that we can learn from the Healing Network.
Yes.
And I do believe it's a healing network.
Mm.
I actually believe I'm going to use this expression not to upset anybody. It's a pioneering front line, but a proper pioneering front line.
Mm-hmm.
And I see the changes.
Yeah.
I do. I see it in the legal system. I
Yes.
see it.
Especially the legal. That's pretty impressive.
But it wouldn't happen if there wasn't pushback coming from those that
Yes.
are awake.
That are revealing the atrocities.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Linda James, I don't know what's coming to your mind there, but there is a little bit more of the story, if I can share it. I don't know if it's interesting anybody, but if it's boring anybody, you've got to just say, Matt, time out.
No, I'm really interested in it.
Yes, I am.
Okay, all right. So for anybody who's still hung on, thank you very much, and also thanks for all the comments. They've been very caring comments, by the way.
Yes, yeah.
Got to say that, and it's a time to have appreciation for that, because that's in the name of healing. And that's where we get to in the story, because when there was that pause, the person says, well, it sounds like a full-time job on top of recovering from everything you've been through.
Mm-hmm.
What came next was, because sometimes we unknowingly recreate pressure. Yeah, we do that. We recreate the pressure in the name of healing. I see you nodding your head, Linda James.
A little familiar with that one, yes.
Yeah.
Cause more chaos, drama.
Yeah.
I think I've gone down these roads before without realizing it, that I was actually doing this. I'm like, why is drama following me everywhere? Why is chaos? Oh, I have to look at my part. And sometimes I have a part in it, and sometimes I don't. So, yeah.
Okay. So how does this sound, Sheila, Linda James, and audience that's hung on? Well, that's with us, I should say that, not hung on. I do actually know that there's enjoyment there, and that's a really good thing. So I want to acknowledge that. So for those that are actually enjoying the company, and we do tap into that, like Sheila says, we start feeling, which is really good. And that's in the name of healing. Let me suggest something different. Instead of asking, how do I rebuild everything? What if the question becomes, what can I stabilize today? Is that a brick in the right place?
Well, discovering something I want to work on. Usually comes from being triggered.
Right. Right.
Yay! So that's part of the good part of about being triggered. So how am I going to choose to act next time or whatever? So that'll be the next thing I'm going to quote unquote work on. So getting all healed feels like a big old huge long journey that I'm taking on. But if I just take on whatever the latest is,
Right.
that's great. And then things will come up that I think I'm like totally over. Uh-oh, I'm not over that one after all.
Yeah.
I guess I need to work on it a bit more. And working on it doesn't necessarily mean it's hard. It's just a different way of thinking
Yeah.
that I have found that has benefited me, and having people that know the growth that I've made within this, mind hack that happened to me.
Yeah.
I'll get encouragement from them. Oh, that's real growth. I see it in other people, that have shared things with me, and then I'm seeing them conquer it, whatever those things are. I bring it up
Yes.
to them as well, and we're all really insecure. So I am very keen on seeing people's strengths, and I mention it to them all the time. And it just comes very natural to me. So I love to tell people about their strengths. That's one of the things I really enjoy doing.
Gigi says everyone deserves to heal, and healing is possible for everyone, no matter what the cause. I mean, that's a positive statement from somebody who's in the healing work. So, Sheila, Linda James, and everyone in the comments there, can we say that stability is underrated? I mean, the question is, what can I stabilize today, right?
What does that term even mean?
Well,
I don't know. Like stable?
rock the boat. You can go far left and you can go far right.
True.
You know.
Don't rock the boat.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? No.
Yeah.
When I hear terms like "don't rock the boat," it means shut up
Yes.
I
and
see.
don't mention that thing again.
Yes.
But I'm confused, and this isn't making sense. And I'm
Well,
told to
without
shut
stability, can you have anything sustainable grow?
up. Okay, stability, so the boat
I
would
suppose
not rock
coming
it.
back to
The
the
boat would
garden
stable.
again, right? I don't know. I'm not the person with all the answers.
We're just kind of talking about.
Yeah, trying to stimulate conversation. Really.
Okay.
Well, I think what Gail is saying, with healing comes stability.
Yes.
Yes.
If you're going to build something, you have to have a firm foundation. You've got to have a base to build on, and that's the stability. So you've got to do some form of healing before you can start to look at a firm base to build your building block on, to move or forward or upward, whichever way you want to term it.
Now that sounds more balanced rather than this full-time job, because that was the comment in the story. It's on top of recovering from everything you've been through, and you just can't
Can't do
sustain
it.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. So is that making this rocking boat kind of make sense? Because it isn't a rocking boat. It's a person standing ground. You know, there's stability there, standing on your feet. Okay, I tell you what. I want to bring it into the reality of limited resources, because this isn't, a theoretical conversation. I don't want us to just get lost in the story here, but not everybody has access to ideal healthcare.
Right?
No.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And financial freedom, if we've been stuck in the institute, guess what? It's robbed us of a lot of that.
Mhm.
So now what? So brutal honesty, folks. Brutal honesty. We support what's possible, not what's impossible. So persons have found their way here. Now, we don't say that this is the medical resource. We've never claimed that. This is a circle of friends, right? It's a circle of friends. So we're supporting what's possible in the circle of friends. That's already a step in the right direction. That's not just a brick. I would say that's a building going up.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
So are we demanding what's not available, or we're seeing, well, hang on, this is an important resource, and we're not guilty about it. We're going, I'm enjoying this. There's something good here. Yeah.
Nobody demands anything. And you can't even demand it of yourself. You have to allow it.
J. Mars says healing involves supporting.
Yes.
J. Mars, that's what you do. That's your reputation. Don't mean to make you shy, but that is your reputation, and it's a good reputation to have. It really is. So here we go. I think this is where something important emerges, and it's resourcefulness, not in a pressured way, but in a grounded way. So what's available to me? What's available to us? Any thoughts?
Our wisdom amongst each other.
Well, that's not small.
No, it's
That's
not.
a big
No,
one.
it's not. I mean, we can go to a therapist who has no clue of this culture, and they just don't get it, and it's not their fault. They've functioned in a society that's not been under a rock. It has not been in oppression.
Yeah.
So for them to hear about stuff we've been through is unfathomable to most people. Okay?
Right.
So just for us to be able to speak of things easily and not be interrupted and asked all kinds of how the hell did that happen? No, we understand why this happened because within this culture, this, and this happened. You know, seeing a therapist is a good idea. I'm not saying not to.
I think
And
that's
I
a
know
very good idea.
very good idea. Like if you realize, okay, I need to work on boundaries. I've discovered this from hanging out with my previous Jehovah's Witness friends. You know,
Okay.
I have a hard time with boundaries. I can take that to my therapist and really improve
Yeah.
and probably get better direction than say one of my previous Jehovah's Witness friends. They might share their wisdom with me on how their life is better now because they've used their boundaries now, but there's still things I need a therapist for. Like I've got phobias. Okay,
Yeah.
these phobias and panic attacks are not a good time. I struggle with them, and
Yes.
you know they're not a good time. So when I'm getting ready to do something that's big in my world, I go to therapy to get prepared for it. You know,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Sheila, I saw you nodding your head.
I agree with Linda. Because we sort of live worldwide,
Yeah.
and we can't actually sit in a physical circle, we have to connect with each other. And the connection is love.
Hmm.
You have to love each other. And with trust comes love.
Right.
Once we realize that nobody's here to hurt us.
Oh, there's people here to hurt us.
Yes,
I'm
there
sorry.
are.
I'm
There are.
sorry. I don't mean to be disrespectful.
No, you're not. You're not, Linda.
Okay.
No, you're street smart.
Okay.
You're street smart, Linda.
Unfortunately, what I've learned along the way.
Yes.
Well,
But you start to recognize them. You can start to
Yeah,
recognize who are. Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you for saying that. Yeah. Thank you.
believe it or not, Linda James, those are in my notes, and I do have notes for this discussion. And
Okay.
are you psychic now? Are you
Maybe
telepathic?
so.
Because I'm teasing you, but look, you're right. Your intuition is correct.
So there's predators within the organization Watchtower,
Yes. Yes.
and some of them get kicked out, and some of them choose to leave, and they
Yes.
show up in this community too.
But you
Yeah.
can see them. You see the weeds.
Yeah. So when I see one that I've known to be a predator for years, I will tell people, usually amongst, one-on-one. I don't announce it usually over something like this. I'll tell them one-on-one.
Yes.
This is what I think of them, and this is what I've seen of them.
Yes.
And then they can go on with their own gut instinct, because that's just sharing my wisdom, and people do change, but some of the predators that I've seen have not. They just showed up predators. They still are. So every so often, like, okay, BCG from the Australian Royal Commission, is that what her name is? Oh, she went by in the Australian Royal Commission, so I don't know if I have the letters right. So she friend requested me one day. I'm like, wow, okay, yay. And so I accept her friend request. We have not chatted or nothing. And I was speaking with texting William Bowen on my phone. He got to be my first interview when I first started doing this. So that's why I have his number. So I'm like, listen, I'm really concerned about her because this other dude is talking like, we're all here to love you. And I pointed the guy out to him. He goes, oh, I stay clear from that man. So he already knew about the predator, right? He already had Bill Bowen is a badass looking dude, big hunk of man. Okay, I've never heard him ever say like he stays clear of anybody. I mean, he doesn't sound like a bully either, but I heard I stay the hell away from that man. Okay, the one I'm thinking of, right? So what I didn't know is he had her how to get in touch with her. He texted her and gave her a heads up warning because I was saying to him, I'm really concerned. And I've never talked to her yet. And I don't want the first time I talk to her to be like, you better be careful of this person. I just didn't want that to be our first conversation. And he just went right into it because it was his experience. Plus, I confirmed his experience, and he just went right to her. And I guess he texted her, gave her a heads up on this guy, and I was very glad, you know. So we have an eye out for each other too. But
Yeah.
again, you go with your own intuition and take your own wisdom and go with it.
You're raising a very important point, Linda James, and you handle it well. And it can actually strengthen the safety and maturity of the let's say, the open circle here. And we're not creating an unhealthy fear. I think what you're pointing to is that, leaving an abusive high control group doesn't automatically make somebody safe, healed, or trustworthy. People leave for many reasons. And what did you say? Some are deeply hurt and growing. Others may still carry harmful patterns. That's why they got kicked out.
And because we're dysfunctional, still carrying some of this stuff and mindset from this organization, we put the fun in dysfunction.
Oh, right. Sure.
And I have to laugh at myself because of the stuff I've done that's like, seemed like a good idea at the time because that's how I had been conditioned to behave.
Right.
Yeah.
Until I realized that it's not in my best interest nor there. Until I have a reason to change certain behaviors I've had, I don't change them. And then, when I see the folly behind them or the reasons, then I make a point of changing them.
Mm.
That's when I get to shed. So we're all just, we all had our own different journey in the organization and out of it. And so our journeys look different in different
Right.
timing, like I heard you say earlier.
So does that make our circle unsafe, Linda James?
Does
it
what make our circle unsafe? That there's
Well, the fact
predators
that you've got
within the
good persons that have left because of an ethical reason and persons who got booted out because they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. They were naughty. Look, there's many different reasons.
I still have trouble trusting. So I believe this is a safe place until I don't.
Okay, that sounds reasonable.
Today, it's a safe place, and that's why I'm here.
And
then
then
my
so
commitment
we're still
to make
alert.
sure the show I do on Saturdays is a safe place too. Matter of fact, there was this one guy that used to call into 6 Screens, and so I did my homework on him.
Oh
And
yeah.
then he would call Rick and give him all kinds of grief, and Rick had a nice way with him and everything, and then he decided to call it my show. That was his mistake. Usually I'm naive and I just fall for stuff, but unfortunately for him, I'm like, dude, I've done my homework on you. You need to leave now. And just informed him, you go by this name, that name, this name. You said this, and this. You need to leave now. I was attitude all over the place. I wasn't like, screaming bloody murder, but I was just like, look, dude, I know you, and I know you're seen. And I've talked to him a few times when he called into 6 Screens. I tried to explain stuff. No, he just asks questions to get a rile out of us. I think they're called trolls, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. There are trolls. There was one that came on the channel, and he said his wife, he wasn't a witness, but his wife was, and I just said to him, I think you're an elder.
Yeah.
He said, no, I'm not. I said, no, you come across as very much as one. I like Gigi's comment about the quote from her childhood.
Oh yeah.
Where she says, I know now that every time I accept my past, which has been at times difficult, and respect where I am in the present, I am giving myself a future. So that's a building block.
Yeah.
Okay. House is going up, folks. It's going up.
What does that mean?
Well, Linda James, we've been saying that we're building the house brick by brick.
Okay. I didn't know if we were doing a transition on your show. I'm sorry. But thank you. Oh, it's a metaphor. Okay.
Linda James, well, I'm not trying to trick you or anything like that.
No, you're not.
Trying to inject the illustration, or the metaphor to kind of make it easier, and just go, look, there's no major demand. Sometimes it's just about going, well, I've accomplished putting a brick. You do that over enough days, you do get a building. I think of some building projects that were absolute hell, Linda James. And I used to say that. I remember being caught in the rain, and it was like a typhoon going through the place, and we had volunteers, and it was very, very rural, and people just looking at me and going, well, what are we going to do? And I said, well, put a brick down. Just now that rain will stop and you can put a brick down. We did. So it was a project that should have taken 2 months, and it took like a year, and it was one hell of a stonking year. It was like no end in sight on this thing. It was awful.
Okay.
And we were sleeping by fire and thugs at night. It was, yeah, I look at it, it was like a sort of hell on earth.
You've shared pictures of yourself here and there, and one of my favorite pictures of you is with a build, one of those Kingdom Hall builds,
That
or
was
some
the
kind of a
place.
build,
You
and you're like on a board with the thing happening here. You have your lips touched, and you look happy to be there.
I'm impressed that you connected the story to the right picture. That was exactly the place.
Oh,
There was
that's the
nothing
place.
there. There was nothing there.
Okay, that's the
It's
place
still-
that got stormed.
It still exists on Google Maps. It's one of the places that still exists.
Okay.
But there was nothing there. There was marshland. It was hectic.
Okay.
I mean,
So that's one of those places where you planted a Kingdom Hall. Planted a Kingdom Hall for the community, which was a rural community then.
Yeah, it was a growth point. It was a
Okay.
growth point. There was like very sure. Yeah, I could talk a lot about that place. It was a very, very insular community.
The things you've been through and the things I've been through have been quite different, but yet still we're very familiar with the culture and how this culture functions and stuff. So your healing is going to need to be different than mine, and vice versa, And
Well, your intuition is very sharp. For you to have brought up that picture out of all the pictures that I've got, out of the 1,000 or so
that's where
pictures.
I went when you're talking about a build. Yeah.
And I didn't take a lot of pictures. There were very few pictures that
Smile was
survived.
sincere. Your smile looked true. It didn't look like, there's a picture being taken. I have to do the standard smile. You looked joyous in that picture. But I don't know what was going on with you. But
The
that's one of my
stone
favorite
was a chap with a chisel at a quarry. I mean, there was no heavy machinery. He had a chisel, chiseling rock.
Oh my. Okay.
Yeah, we made our own bricks. Yeah,
Okay.
we slept by fire, and then of course that put me in touch with bush police, because you send signals over the hills. You realize the communication. You use a different communication. You shout across the hills, and you shout your messages across the hills. You use the echo. Hey!
Nice. Oh wow.
Tamoka, Mamoko, go.
Wow.
Rakadini Zororo. It really resonates. The language has got that propensity to resonate, and you hear the young women, avocado, and okay, she's going to come down the hill, and you're going to get avocados from her or whatever, banana. So very, very rural. But then it was the same with security as well. You had, I remember there was somebody drunk, and he was targeting young females. there was a place that was nearby, and he was harassing this house. He wanted to get in. And I never saw the bush police with such ultra precise efficiency in that rural place condescend upon him and just sort that out. It was incredible. They were tracking this guy. They were tracking. They knew, okay, he's off to these young women, and he harassed. They gave him a chance. Then they apprehended him, and then of course they knew where to bring him. They brought him
I
to.
was just going to say they're probably familiar with this guy. This
And they
probably
brought him
wasn't
to
their
me
first
because I had the fire. I was the only one with the
Okay.
fire.
Brought him to
So
you.
they
What a
knew, oh, we'll go to Gray. Gray's the safe place. And they brought him to the because they needed to identify the face because it's all happening at night. So they brought him to the fire so we could
Oh,
recognize the
okay.
face.
Confirm, yeah.
And so we all in that circle, we were there to imprint this is his face. We can identify him. Yeah, man, now we've gone from this hypothetical story to actual history. Crumbs. Linda James. Yeah, you
I
sharp.
just
eh?
read something. I just read something in the paper 2 days ago of something that happened in the county I live in, where literally two people were out at 4 a.m. So I don't know what was all going on. It was a man and a woman, and then a man came up to them. They were in their car, and the man was banging on the car and tried to kidnap the woman.
Okay.
So he took off in the car, called 911, and this person was being very, very aggressive and finally
Oh.
did take her and kidnap her. So I don't know if this was a domestic, his woman was out with some other guy, or she was trying to escape from him for the night, or if who he even was to her, if they even knew it was very aggressive, it was shocking to hear just how this man just like he was taking her as if she was his property. It was very aggressive. But the police did show up quickly and did apprehend the guy. They got him off the freeway. So I don't know the rest of the story, but that was something.
Well, we kind of shifted into a different zone, from this original theme of surpassing. But thanks for drawing those things out, Linda James. I'm refreshed with your astute intuition and memory. So thank you.
Okay. You're welcome then.
Yeah, no, that was really super fun. I mean, there was somebody who moved into this area who was a youngster when I was there, and they said, I remember you, Matt. I remember exactly the detail. I was like, wow, do you know how refreshing it is to have somebody support the history?
Yes.
Because I just thought this was going to evaporate to nothing. But yeah. And I learned that area is a significant area in the world, according to some very key components that were hired by Congress, United States of America Congress. So there's some great lessons from that area that I draw from.
How so would it be considered significant? Like Bermuda Triangle kind of significant?
Well, let's take the area where I am here. Cecil John Rhodes died from eye shot. I can actually see the mountain, just round the mountain. That's where he died. And of course, the significance that Cecil John Rhodes had from Cape to Cairo. He had that idea of the train that was going to go through Africa. Didn't get that far.
Okay.
But the mining in the late 1800s. I mean, this is when, excuse me, Watchtower was incorporated, 1879.
Yeah.
And you think about the missionaries that were sent to Africa, you've got cheap labor, and you could indoctrinate persons, teach them to read, overturn their culture, their oral tradition, which, by the way, there was nothing wrong with it. You know, this isn't what can we say? Just tribal nonsense.
Right. Right.
You make a mistake. I mean, a lot of the medicines that came from Africa is benefiting Western medicine. You wouldn't have that. I mean, we were talking about iboga or ibogaine, the ibogaine being that pure molecule that comes from iboga, and how that is being used in a pioneering front line to cure addiction. You know, it's curing addictions. It's powerful stuff. And of course, here in Africa, this is what they were using to help persons to overcome fear of death and overcome all kinds of ills. It was part of healing regimen or part of spiritual ascension, just through the foods and the products that were growing in this area. Anyway, so where I am here, Cecil John Rhodes, this is a very significant place, but where I had been assigned to, it's called Chipinge. When you translate it, it means control.
Oh, wow.
And that's
Chipinge.
exactly what it was. And if I said to Sheila, you know, are you familiar with Dante's Divine Comedy? You know, the engravings of those etchings that was done with Dante, and he's got Paradiso, and Paradiso is the swirling image of
Windmills?
Angelic presences. So it's this
Okay.
imaginative rendition. Dante's got, you know, what's it, depictions of hell and depictions of the devil, and you know, these intricate engravings, beautifully carved, beautifully engraved, beautifully done. And then of course you can get those etchings inked, and you can look at them and you can just see, wow, you know, this art is incredible. But it's come from archetypical what can I say, imagery from people. You know, you look at different cultures and you look at different spiritual practices. This is what we were talking about. The father image is still a father image, a mother image is still a mother image, irrespective of cultures, right? A snake is a snake. It means pretty much the same thing. Or water can mean the subconscious. You know, the language or the way that we form words orally may change, but the imagery is the same.
Yeah.
And that's the basis of psychology. That's, you know, that's the universal aspect. And the more you learn about languages, you suddenly see, oh, Bantu languages, well, that's related to Swahili, and Swahili is related to Arabic. I remember saying that. Persons were saying, oh, how do you learn these languages? And I said, well, they're all interconnected. And it was like the wrong thing to say in the congregation, because they said, well, we all know that the Tower of Babel is how these languages came out. How dare you talk about how these languages are all related? I was like, good grief, well, you're going to learn nothing.
Oh, wow.
How are you going to learn these languages? But you can see that these languages, you trace them to Swahili, you trace it to Arabic, you even get into Gaelic and Irish. You go into the Eastern language, you can actually see that there's these roots, there's these phonemes that are recurrent, like father, tata, baba, pata, mother, mama, mata, mama. You start seeing that there's all of these. Yeah. You start seeing these recurrent phonemes that are there. But I mean, if you shut your mind off to this, how do you develop? How can you go into the Romantic languages like Italian or Spanish or whatever, they're all interconnected. It's incredible stuff, and that's the same thing in Africa. You've got your Bantu languages going up into to Swahili, and you can see these. You'll probably find, you look deep enough, you'll go, oh, there's similar words that are interchangeable for the different tribes and the different languages throughout Africa.
I heard one person tell this story of the Tower of Babel. And yes, the languages came from the Tower of Babel, but, and this was a Christian person telling the story, and this was years ago, but he put it in such a way that it could have been kind of a telescope. You know, like how the Vatican has this huge telescope to reach to the skies to, you know, to visually see. So
Right.
He put it in that way. What if they were creating something like that? Because it was saying, you know, they were building something that would reach to the heavens, right?
Sure.
So that was just kind of a thing that I
Ooh,
remembered
you
right
see, you in the right direction here, Linda James, because that's the Stargate
now.
program,
Oh my God.
isn't it?
Okay.
So
Oh
so
wow.
when I talk about Chipinge, and I say to you that USA Congress paid for Stargate, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And it was only when I connected with some of those from SRI, Fort Meade, and I didn't know who I was talking to. It was just, you know, just my research or tracing things or trying to get answers. I came across these persons and just started talking like we're talking now and saying, well, what do you want to know about me? I'll tell you a few stories. I was assigned to Chipinge in this place and this, and we just connect, and it fills in the
Wow.
gaps, and they go, oh yeah, that's in some of these persons' reports in the framework that they're working with. They said, oh, that's a UFO repair center. And then you hear
Well,
that that's exactly what's being discussed in 2025. But
yeah.
a lot of that stuff is suppressed. And by the way, when we talk about archetypes and imagery, for one person, a mystical experience or hypnagogic state, they might come face to face with what they say is an angel or God, or you know, this kind of experience. Another person says this is an alien. For somebody here in Africa, they might say this is a gremlin or a tokoloshi. So these words might change. So you'll have somebody like Jacques Vallée, for instance, for the Spielberg film Close Encounters of the Third
Of the
Kind.
third kind, yes. Which I've never seen. So I
That,
need to watch it.
yeah,
It was like
the
a
main,
big deal. What, late 70s? Yeah.
yeah, late 70s, so the early 80s, late 70s. But Jacques Vallée, that film, the main character, the main scientist, it was based upon the real life person,
Okay.
Jacques Vallée, who went into all
Wow.
of these things because you know, say for instance, you have somebody that's disturbed by this or got some kind of psychosis that's developed. Well, what do? You go and see a doctor, right? Or you go and see a psychologist or a psychiatrist who medicates the person. But somewhere along the line, you'd go to a psychologist. Now, what kind of psychologist would be able to handle that? Well, you were talking about, what about a psychologist that handles spiritual abuse? Well, I can think of Steve Hassan, for instance, but not all psychologists have got Steve Hassan training. He's also come under flack. Some persons are going, no, gee, we don't
Big
like
time.
what you've written. You wrote that book on Donald Trump. No, you don't like that.
I've read it 3 times. It's a good read. Am I promoting it? Yes, I totally am. It's called The Cult of Trump by Stephen Hassan. Yes, and it's more so of the stuff I talk about on the show. These are the techniques and tactics and the characteristics that have shown up and brings up different things. So yeah.
Sheila, I hope we haven't sort of been talking and too much and excluding you here.
No, I
feel
find
your
it very
presence.
interesting. I'm reading the chat as well, what's going on in the
Okay.
comments.
How are our chats looking, Sheila? Is there some good
Very
things
good.
coming through?
Gigi's left us.
Well, I'm glad she did come through, and she decided she was going to be balanced, and that was
Yes,
her approach.
yes,
And
yes.
so she did well there. She set
did.
herself a goal, and she said, "That's as far as I'm going. That's it. That's my boundary." Yeah.
And you were
so that's-
talking about boundaries earlier and love, loving, but it needs to be a healthy kind of love is what I was really getting from what you were
Yes,
talking
yes,
about.
yes.
So to
It's
recognize,
love built on trust, Linda.
I think the more we are healing or and shedding some of the stuff that we've had accumulated, the more we're going to trust our own footing and our own decision making. And the more that happens, the more healed we'll know that we are. And that's just going to take time.
Yeah, it does.
Like you talked about.
Mhm.
And I like that you said to relax in it, because it shows up when it shows up. You know,
Yeah.
you can't just decide, I need it to show up on Tuesday. It's not going to happen that way, right?
yeah.
Yeah, relax and take a deep breath.
Yeah. Well, that's the boat that was rocked that's coming to that stabilizing, or you
Yes.
said footing. I mean,
Yes.
either or, that works.
Being stable is what
Yes.
we're talking about. Yeah, being stable.
Does love, I mean, a proper principled love, allow a person to simply rest?
That's my idea of love.
Yeah, I would think so, yeah.
Peace, rest.
Yeah.
And see, you mentioned something about going back to being comfortable with love. And that made me think, I don't think I've ever been comfortable with love.
Uh-huh.
What I was raised in and told was love. Mm-mm. I don't want to go back to that. That
No.
was not safe.
That's not love, that's domination.
Yeah, thank you for putting a name to it. That's exactly what it was. And it was a combination of my mother and the organization. So,
Yeah.
Which also kind of explains, well, it doesn't explain it, but to me, it helps me understand.
Yeah.
How she went through a very hard time in her childhood. So I get why she was attracted to this organization and why she chose it. But it still didn't make things okay. The way she ended up being with me as a mother. And I know that she made the choices with what she had, so I understand that.
Yes.
I look back at having only a certain amount of wisdom when I was younger and having more today. And, that statement, if I knew then what I know now, oh yeah. That's something I think about all the time.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the term starting with PEDS that they say they love. Now, is it just something that is a sexual thing, or can it be from an organisation that's dominating people because they are preying on their victims, telling them that they love them, and at the same time doing them untold damage and untold harm?
If shunning is a loving provision from Jehovah,
well, that's a load of rubbish,
right? But they'll say that.
Oh yes, and
But
that's what I mean by
discipline. Even tells stories about how somebody who wasn't shunned during the time they were disfellowshipped will be at some family gathering and tell somebody off because you didn't shun me, like it stumbled them, like it stumbled the disfellowship, like you didn't It's like you didn't cooperate with the parents who were doing the discipline when
Yeah.
somebody was put in the corner. You interrupted that by
Yes.
talking to them. You know, it really infantilized us
Yes. Yeah.
with those. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with those stories. They
Yes.
get told. Pretty lame, but and the Zelkin, which is a lawyer in San Diego, which is about
Yes.
100 miles south of me, I think he put it the best when he spoke about Jehovah's Witnesses, that they are in an alternate universe.
Yes.
And when you see that, it's not in my reality. It's amazing to me, you know, just amazing.
Yeah.
How I'll be talking to somebody that's in the organization, usually my mother or father. Again, I was never baptized, so my parents do talk to me, but let me just share. 99 times out of 100 is condescendingly speaking to me, like I should know better. Like I left the truth, because they still see me as someone who's left the truth and joined the devil. Like my last phone call with my father was trying to convince him that I'm a good person. I just kept saying it. I'm a good person. I'm a good person. You know, like, and he did not confirm this. So I could almost hear the fear that's in his head that the organization has taught him.
Yeah.
That's what was holding him back. So yes, I get communication, and yes, I'm thankful for the communication, but it's not what I would hope it could be. It's not, you know what I'm saying? It's still with condescending statements and stuff. So
It's difficult when it's a parent because you would like them to recognize an accomplishment in
Yeah.
their child.
yes, and it's never been that way. Never been that way. Like normal things, okay, are just poo-pooed on. Normal things. Like if I got a trophy in high school for playing guitar or singing, that wouldn't be something put in the living room. I put them in my room. It's a trip. My sister got a trophy for saying a poem, which was really amazing, and that got put in the dining room. I don't know why. I know why. I'm sorry. I know why now. Because she was the golden child. This is in the realm of narcissism. She was much more compliant than I was as a child.
Mm.
So I was precocious. I was questioning. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't submit easily.
And that has a big impact on a child, which lasts into adulthood, so that you never feel good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Sheila and Linda, it
Yeah.
is a delightful conversation. Now, there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity to say, well, you know, again, it's one of those situations where we have opened up the circle and we have explored more. And we could explore for another half an hour, but I would only do that at request. So I'm just going to point out that we're almost on the hour, and the open circle has been for 2 hours. So it depends on how you feel, because what is it? You are the reason that I or we are here.
Here.
So
Yeah.
it depends upon you. I've got to tell you, it's a delight, but I would like to just ask everybody, how do you feel?
I'm thinking I'm gonna step away and watch, because I want to hear a conversation between the two of you. If I still stay here, that's not going to happen. I'm just going to be honest. That's not going to happen. You're going to say something. He's going to say something. It's going to make me think of something, and then I'm going to open my mouth and talk about it. So I'm going to just step away.
Linda, your
I wanna hear a
information
conversation.
is very rich.
Thank you.
what you are bringing to the open circle, and besides which, this is just a facet, and if anything,
I love this name, Open Circle, and it
Yes.
sounds very safe. It even sounds like Native American, indigenous. Just Open Circle. That's just very welcoming. I really like
all
that
right.
this is what you came up with. So let me say goodbye, and I'm just going to watch on.
So goodbye, Linda James, and thank you very much for being a gracious guest. And thank you
for
for
having
all
me.
that you contribute, and thank you for helping so many in your dedication and the efforts that you put forward.
I get help all the time in giving. It's really cool.
Yeah.
When the things I'm learning as I'm giving, so it's really a beautiful thing that I appreciate your
J.
compliment.
Mars says it's a great show, many subjects to go. So as you go, Linda James, please, we would like to hear more, but depending upon you, if you don't want to share, that's up to you. But if you do want to share, you will be welcome in the open circle. And
Well,
there
I'll
will be an
return.
open circle on Saturday, specifically for those that have requested that particular time. I respect that Saturday is a full schedule, but just for those ones that have said that
Okay.
that's the only time that they can join, we're going to have an open circle. That's in slightly a different, a bit of a different direction there, but similar kind of format, but maybe different people.
So that's
And-
if you can send me something to say when that starts, or I'll just get on the I'll just get on the internet.
I'll
To be honest,
post
I have all my notifications off.
okay.
Because if I had to hear a notification, it would just send my ADHD over there.
Okay.
All good shows end on a cliffhanger.
Oh, Linda James,
Bye,
go well,
Linda.
go with blessings,
Bye,
and
Linda.
thank you very, very much for being with us.
Thank you. Yes.
There we go. Yeah, it's VDO.NINJA is a different technology. It takes a bit of getting used to, but it's not that hard actually. You get onto it once or twice. I decided, right, I'm going to get to grips with this and see how it works. It's a lot more stable than we thought it was.
Yes, it's turned out very good. The only thing I can't do is actually get off it. I can get on it, but I don't know how to get off it.
So how does one get off? I think
because I switch off sometimes and it's still and it's blank screen on the iPad, but I can still hear the chat.
Yeah, so there should be like a red hang up.
Or telephone, yes.
Yes. So if you press that, you'll disappear.
All right, okay. Bye.
So Sheila, I don't know how you're feeling. How's your strength? Do you need rest?
I think so, yes. I think 2 hours we've covered an awful lot.
We did, we did. Is it an awful lot or it was a positive lot?
A positive awful lot.
We're playing with words. Sheila, thank you also for being a gracious guest, and thank you also for, moving around the internet and seeing who's in need and seeing where you can help, and it really is making a difference. So
it really is. Yes, some things are going on. There's a lot going. There really is. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's time for it to come out.
Yeah, I'm giving you praise here.
Thank you,
Sheila.
Matthew.
Thank you very, very much for that.
Thank you for yourself.
Thank you for being here. And I could say, well, that closes our open circle. Thank you very much to Jay Mars, who's hung on, Gigi also, who joined in on the show. Also, Sue, we enjoyed you just speaking very candidly and being yourself. Thank you for being with us. And if there's anybody else that I've missed, please, thank you very much for tuning in. Slim Chick, we also saw you as well in the chat, so thank you for being here with us. It all adds up, and we're able to benefit from each person as a different facet, as a different hue, being human, different color of the spectrum, different component. So thank you very, very much for that. Shall we end off on a song? Here's a song that talks about institutional preserve. Go well.
We spread the efficiency first. We eat the most. Yeah, baby, institutional preserve over individual welfare toast. Preserve the name, erase the face, wipe the tear, and hold your place. Your welfare's noted, just not heard. Now sign the form, ignore the word. Darlings, it's institutional preserve over individual welfare toast. It's not abuse, it's protocol. This green, well, that's emotional. Uphold the frame, don't break the shrine. The system's pure. You cross the line. Ducky do, it's true. Institutional preserve over individual welfare toast. So here's our jam, it's spread with pride. The individuals, Christ on the side. Preservation now.